Hey, what's up, everybody? Time for another game theory community discussion kind of video. Remember, if you like the videos, like, sub, silly, comment, share, support the channel if you want. I appreciate it. Thanks. And this is going to be one of those. It's crazy to me that the narrative that the community has allowed to, just the narrative that the community has allowed to be act as if it's fact or something so many years later, right? And we're going to talk about hyper alpha, which I have made videos before showing that the community has actually gone on stream and lied about the tournament. They didn't want to admit that I beat people. It's crazy. But if we see here, and this is a few years ago, hyper alpha, my favorite fighting game of all time, CE Championship Edition, and A1 is banned for balance reason. A1 was not banned. It shouldn't be banned. I remember I ran that Hyper Alpha tournament at EVO 2006. It had 60 plus entrants. We only had CE banned though, and not Alpha 1, which was a mistake. Oh God, it's just crazy because I showed, how many times have I showed that this shit is not true, that they've made up? And we've showed that they've actually gone on stream and lied about the tournament and said stuff is in the game that is not. And you're thinking, this was made 2021, right? Finals was Final Showdown versus Mike Watson. A1 guy versus A1 auto mode Ken. Good times, good people, and not so good times. Yes, they don't want to talk about how the fire alarm was pulled on me during the finals, I guess, right? So he couldn't finish, right? Saber, facts. Saber said, oh my God, Saber. Jesus fucking Christ. I don't know how this guy is one of the fakest motherfuckers for having credit in the fucking Street Fighter community. It's amazing to me how this guy has any credibility. Well, I want to show you something though. Because again, this idea that Alpha 1 should have been banned. Well, if you recall, and I actually looked back on the forums to look this up myself, I'd always said that I didn't remember if I got the game right before the Evo or right after. And so I see that I got the game right before Evo. And like I said, wasn't like I was practicing. I was just like, oh, I remember this game, right? And funny enough, when I'm looking at some of these old Street Fighter threads, do you know that Desk is actually in the threads where I'm explaining games? Which is, Desk was not a thing when I was playing games. So it's always amazing to me that Desk has gotten so much credit for stuff that isn't even remotely true in the community. And I just think about, has the community made hundreds of thousands of dollars off of everything that I've taught them at this point? I mean, it's crazy. I don't know what the community would do without me, because they sure as fuck wouldn't have found this stuff without me. But anyway, so if you can see my post here, I'm talking about, and we're going to show an example too. There was this idea that I was using all these bugs and everything to beat people in the game, which was not true. Now, if anything, this isn't me throwing shade on Mike Watson, because I had just gotten the game right before the tournament. I had found out after the tournament that Alpha 1 in auto mode, now there is a bug if you pick auto mode, that even after your auto mode stuff goes away, right, that you no longer can be hit by overheads and some other janky shit, right? Like, so after your auto mode block goes away, you can no longer be hit by overheads in Hyper Alpha. It's weird. But what I'm getting at here is there was this idea that you couldn't combo Alpha 1 characters, right? Alpha 3 characters can't combo Alpha 1 characters. But this wasn't the case. And people were acting like I was doing bugs to beat them and all this kind of stuff, which was absolutely ridiculous, right? If you recall, I've even showed, what was it? Let's see if we can find that here. Okay, I don't want to show this guy's video first because, let's see if we could go to, oh yeah, this was a tournament. Remember I found out on stream that they were lying about the tournament? They couldn't admit that I beat them. Do you remember we were going over these kind of tournaments? Oh, that surfer boy Ryu was beating people. That's not fair. He was using all these bugs and stuff that don't even exist in the game. Oh, I was using Guy's Redizzy combo, but if you actually watch my videos, because then I had been writing on the forums, this stuff doesn't even exist in the game, motherfucker. You guys are using attack like I beat you. But to show that one post, right, what I was talking about, and that was September, and you can even look at this. It's sad that even back in the day, people, after I'd post stuff on the forums, people were taking credit for it. Because you got to remember, back in the day, I couldn't, I was doing on a 10-inch TV. We've showed it, right? Duct tape stuff, right? I didn't play a lot of video games. Complete poverty mode. Duct taped controllers, 10-inch TV, and I would record stuff or just post it on the forums and then send VHS tapes to show people how all these games actually worked and the tech in them. Well, this guy, he actually, sadly, he took credit for the stuff I've done, but we can see the dates and it was just retarded. And you can look up the old forums, but he shows an example of what I was talking about, right? So watch this. Oh shit, it's an infinite versus alpha 1 characters. Well, fuck me. Isn't that crazy? And of course, I have, many videos myself on all the weird bugs in this game. Comboing characters that aren't alpha 3, blah, 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 blah. Bugs there, blah, blah, blah. It's crazy. Like I said, I can't believe fucking Desk is in this thread when I'm explaining all these bugs, and it's only and he's gotten credit for it. Oh my God. Jesus. He just wasn't a thing at the time, so I had no idea. But, I'm showing lots of different bugs in this game, and where's some other stuff? So that hits. Remember, we're going to talk a little about the tech in this game, right? Then you'll see he goes through it. Let's watch this. Then I'll go through it. Okay. Then let's see where's some other stuff. Okay. Boom. Can't throw him. Can throw him. Okay, so I've said this before, and I'm just bringing this up because it shows there's a narrative that the community has allowed to take place for games that isn't even remotely true, right? So Hyper Alpha, like I said, and I've made many videos about this, I think Hyper Alpha at one time was supposed to be a serious game, right? Because there's actually new shit in the game. Now, there's a lot of weird shit in the game, but after that tournament, people were making up a bunch of bullshit that Alpha 1 should have been banned, right? Because combos don't work versus them. But one of the weird things in the game is Alpha 3 characters have different combos versus Alpha 1 and Alpha 2 characters. Oh my God, God forbid we have to actually learn something new, right? So basically, in this game, what it did was, if you pick a Alpha 3 character, and let's say if you know Alpha 1, and Alpha 1 and Alpha 2, especially Alpha 1, you can basically roll anything. There's a lot of coin flipping in Alpha 1. But what they did for this game is if a Alpha 1 character rolls versus an Alpha 3 character, they can then get infinited by basically almost anything. It's like a huge coin flip. But if you don't roll versus Alpha 3, nothing juggles versus an Alpha 1 and Alpha 2 character. It's pretty fucking weird. Like, they put that coin flip thing to the maximum in this game. Okay? Now, that's something the community doesn't want to talk to you about because they want to pretend that I used all these bugs to beat people, but they didn't even know it. Or, well, apparently, you got people like Desk and everything, Like I said, I can't believe Desk was in there. But he just wasn't a thing. That's crazy to me. It's just whatever. But what I'm getting at is, so basically, Alpha 3 characters had to learn different combos versus Alpha 1 characters and Alpha 2. It wasn't that you can't do any of these combos like people would complain about. Oh, Alpha 1 and Alpha 2 characters can't be comboed, blah, 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 blah. It was actually Capcom went full blown and programmed it with, if an Alpha 1 or an Alpha 2 character rolls versus an Alpha 3 type character, they can be infinited by anything. Like, it really blows them up. But if they don't do anything, then they're totally invincible. Like, when you think of Alpha 3 can juggle versus everything, right? And there's lots of weird shit in the game. Like, even if you saw how I couldn't throw the guy, they did something, I think what they call it in King of Fighter games. I might be wrong. Do they call it, oh God, what was the phrase they call it? No, oh shit. God, I don't remember. I can't think of the term offhand. I'm going to call it jiggy guard, right? Because I call things my own things. This game put in a thing called jiggy guard. Okay. I don't know if you know what jiggy guard is. We're going to call it jiggy guard. This Street Fighter game has jiggy guard, which is in some other games. And if you're moving your state from up and down, or if you've been in proximity block and you're just coming out of it, you can no longer be thrown, right? If you're moving these in a jiggy guard. And it also has different things like for proximity guard, for certain sort of tick throws, that if an Alpha 1 or an Alpha 2 character, which can now combo after their throws versus an Alpha 3 character, if they are jiggy guarding and they get thrown, they can't, the juggles don't work for them, right? There's a lot of weird mechanics in this game that they kind of threw there, right? Like I said, I put lots of weird stuff in it, but this idea, you know, and you can go watch the videos and there's so many fucking things like, oh, guy has re-dizzy combos. Actually, guy is toned down in this game. They took away that stuff. You know, to act like I was beating them with it is complete ridiculousness, right? So I'm just surprised that, that, you know, so many years after these games have been a thing, and I wish I could find I haven't been able to find that clip. I wish I could find the clip where the community, I remember watching, it was something like, oh, that surfer boy Ryu kid came and, you know, he was using bugs to beat everybody, you know. I just remember they said surfer boy Ryu kid thing. I'm like, oh my God, come on. Jesus fucking Christ, the surfer boy Ryu. I remember they used to call me that sometimes. Ridiculous. But now, I just think it's crazy that, oh, Hyper Alpha. And if you even watch that one stream, they're talking about, oh, Hyper Alpha, it's actually a really cool game. You know, but guy could re-dizzy you if he picked Alpha 1. It's not in the game. The tech that you're talking about in the game was taken out. It's not in the game. You lost. It was a new game. There's new tech, and you didn't want to learn it. So you pretended that I was using these bugs to beat everybody. Now, again, I don't want to talk shit about Mike Watson because I have respect for him, right? But something I found out, though, is alpha or auto mode is broken in the game. Because after your auto mode goes away, the game glitches out, and then overheads no longer work for you for some reason. So that should have been banned. But just this idea that Alpha 1 and Alpha 2 characters had nothing against them and they were super overpowered, you know, and that, you know, Alpha 1 and Championship Edition should have been banned. Complete bullshit. Complete bullshit, because Alpha 3 characters actually can just infinite you with normals versus an Alpha 1 character if they try to roll. Oh, but they don't want to talk about that because they only know how to do their one Vism combo. And their Vism combo doesn't work at first unless the Alpha 1 character had tried to roll. But if they rolled, you could have just infinited them with the normal in the first place. But, I mean, the point is, it's just crazy to me that a community lies about this for so many years later. Spreading false information about games. And this isn't me saying that Hyper Alpha is some amazing game. I mean, you know, it's just something I fiddled with randomly, and certainly there's tech that I've seen in the game that I can't even explain myself. I know Alpha 3 characters, again, they could be juggled by other things versus Alpha 1 characters, but then even looking back on some of these old threads, Alpha 1 or Alpha 3 characters could tech certain moves versus Alpha 1 characters that Alpha 1 characters can't tech, right? So there's weird shit in the game, and I always feel like they started messing with the game. They started finding these, you know, putting some new shit in the game, but then they lost their budget and they're like, oh, fuck, well, we're just going to put out an unfinished product. But I would not be surprised if at one time it was supposed to be a real game, because there's enough new stuff in the game. Weird shit too, you know, for sure. But there's enough new stuff in the game that seemingly they were trying to make a real game at one time. But anyway, I just saw that, and you know, I was surprised about the desk thing, especially because I'm just like, how many fucking hundreds of thousands of dollars has the community made on me? We've been talking about CVS recently. You can see the community talking about me in CVS, the stuff I'm finding in it. Oh, you know, just so many lies about me. All these fucking tech lords. I'm just like, God damn. And, you know, to this day, you know, since I was searching it, for the life of me, I cannot fucking find any proof of Buttmonger ever being an OG or at any of these tournaments. You know, I looked again, you know, I can't believe that guy got people to believe all these lies about me. And, you know, I can go back and look, and I'm in the Canadian threads where he supposedly lives. People are talking about me, how good I am, all these tournaments I'm placing in the Canadian national tournaments as a kid. There's I can't even find a single mention of Buttmonger in any fucking tournament for these old school games, despite me lying about winning all these things, and I was never at tournaments. And I can't even find a fucking single mention of him. To this day, I've never been able, not even a comment about him in a thread, let alone a fucking tournament. Anyway, remember if you like the videos, like, sub, silly, comment, share, support the channel if you want to. Appreciate it. Thanks. The end.